Okay, I'm doing a follow-up video to my first video, just to correct some errors that I made. Don't want to mislead people. Also to add some additional information. This right here is not antacid. This is white vinegar and a syringe. And what I'm doing is using the syringe to you can't really see it, but down in here, there's a hole for the drain, and the drain hose runs down the A-pillar, and water that leaks into the sunroof will come out down here where you can see I've got a little puddle on the floor. That's from the vinegar I shoved down there and then shot some shop air down there to make sure that tube is clear. Depending on your climate, that's probably something you should do at least once a year. The vinegar will react with any algae or things that might be trying to grow inside your hose and plug it up. I've had issues. This side of this car was broadsided at one point, and both these doors, the passenger and the driver's door, were taken out. The B-pillar was slightly caved in, and I've had issues with the car sunroof leaking pretty much ever since I got it. But I don't know if that's because the sunroof never was closing properly, or just because there was some blockage from the body work they did in the tube on this passenger side. But hopefully I'm going to remedy that here today by clearing these tubes out. I did replace the motor, and I had given a pretty poor view of the motors up there because there was no good lighting. So I'll reiterate the motors up here with a little better light. That's the motor on the right side for the sunshade, and that's the motor on the left side for the sunroof. What I had to remove was the decorative covers on the A-pillars. Of course, the visors, the center console, this handle over here for the passenger, and then these columns. And it was kind of tough. If you see where this one screw went in up here, you've got to go between the headliner and this part right here to get that screw out to then lower this panel on the side to give you a little bit of flexibility. You can see I've got a little damage here in the headliner, but I'm not going to risk taking the headliner out to repair it because as I mentioned in the first video, this headliner is very expensive, and the value of the car really wouldn't justify spending the money to replace it. This car has less than 50,000 miles on it, or just around 50,000. It's been a good vehicle. I get a nuisance code every once in a while. Also probably due to the accident, just for the evap system. But I carry a scanner around in the glove box so I can reset that code pretty much on the fly. Trying to think what else I might be able to tell you. Oh, I've got some, it's a special grease. It's a black grease that goes in these channels here. I've cleaned them out thoroughly, to get any grit, dust, grime, road grime out of there, so the slides will slide freely. This sunroof seems to be a whole lot better constructed than the one on my F-150 that blew apart on me. This one is in pretty good shape. I'm gonna use some silicone, spray silicone, and clean up this gasket here, and just lubricate it. Also apply some here and maybe a little bit of electric silicone grease, so this will hopefully seal a little better. But the sunroof is designed to leak. It's not a perfect hermetic seal or anything by any means, but those drain tubes is where the water that comes in goes. The reason I had a flooding issue is the motor gave out on me, and right here the sunroof was just popped up just a little bit, just enough to let excess water in. I've not had a real issue since I initially got the car and I cleared out the drain tube on this side. But I don't know how much more I can really say about this. I'm going to post the video. If you have questions, go ahead and post them. I'll try and answer them if I missed anything. But for the most part, this is a relatively simple job. You just have to be very careful that you don't damage anything in the process. One other thing, and I had this issue on the back, 2 handles, but where are they? Okay. I have them up in here and they're held in by screws, but there's these spacer blocks, and they're a little taller in the back, but if you can see them, get some light up in there. If I can find my light. There it is. See those 2 white blocks up in there with the screw heads coming out? When you take off the handle, those will fall when you drop the headliner. So I've got them held up there with the screws that hold them temporarily, and once I put the headliner up, I can pull the screws out and then put the handle up in these holes, and they will stay in place. I had good success with the 2 in the back. So that's it. Not going to chew anybody's ear off. I'll be putting this thing back together today and post this video a little bit later. Y'all take care.